Jared Fogle, the ex-Subway sandwich spokesperson, will soon learn his fate after pleading guilty to child pornography. But now we're also learning more lurid details of past behaviors. A witness, a reporter who knew Fogle, spoke to Anderson Cooper, and what she revealed is disturbing.
The remarks that he made to me were really just off the cuff, and he told me that he thought that middle school girls were so hot.
And this just came out of...
All right, so let's bring in our legal guys. More on this. Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor in Cleveland, and Richard Herman, a New York criminal defense attorney and law professor, joining us from Vegas. Good to see both of you.
Nice to see you, Frederica.
All right, so Avery, you first, and this really is it's a uncomfortable conversation, I think, for anyone to have when we're talking about this person who's now pled guilty to child pornography. But, the plea deal calls for 5.5 years to under 13 years in prison. How might what we just heard from the one reporter who recalls his comments about middle school girls, how could that impact the judge's decision on the sentencing?
Well, it can impact significantly, Frederica. There's other evidence. There's evidence that he made remarks such as the younger, the better. I mean, there is another individual involved who's about to be charged also that participated with Fogle. And so what the federal district judge has to do once he gets his pre-sentence report and once they get clearance from the U.S. Bureau of Prisons is factor all this in. And as far as I'm concerned, this really should be the upper level of the sentencing guidelines. This should be 12, 13 years. He shouldn't be out of the penitentiary until he's well into his 50s.
And so I wonder, Richard, because it was Fogle's attorneys who said, well, it won't be less. We're not going to ask for less than 5 years. I mean, how much would they be able to weigh in or influence a judge's decision in this kind of penalty anyway?
Well, Fred, first of all, it's not just child pornography. He's pleading to interstate having illicit affairs with underage children.
That's
right.
I
mean, it's much worse than just child pornography. And, the face of Subway has become a subhuman animal. That's the face right now. His deal, and you got to hand it to his criminal defense attorneys, to structure this deal with guidelines of a minimum of 5 years with a maximum of 12 and a half. I mean, that's a remarkable job.
Is that because there was the offering of this more than $1 million? Right. How influential was that money?
$1.4 million in cash, $100,000 per 14 victims, so $100,000 per victim. Sex Offender Registry for life, which is monitoring and probation and all kinds of restrictions. But Fred, the judge in this case potentially could reject this deal. The judge has to accept it or reject it.
That's right.
And the judge could potentially reject. I agree with Avery. I think in this case, if this deal stands, he's looking at double-digit time in prison, a minimum of 10 years this judge is going to get.
Sure. But the money is a critical part of this thing. Often with these kind of offenders, there's no dough. The fact is $100,000 per victim is only going to start to help them get back on their way. And it's up front, Frederica. That's what's so important here. And that's why I think the defense team probably has done okay.
Our dear friend, our dear friend, a friend of CNN, Mark Glass, will tell you, if you think there's only 14 victims here, we got a bridge for you.
Oh, there's a lot more.
This guy
probably a lot more.
So you have to wonder, you have to wonder, even with this plea deal and even with the amount of money, being offered, does it mean the investigation is over? I mean, because prosecutors said while they knew that some of his encounters took place when he was on business travel, they weren't sure if it was business travel for his foundation or even for Subway. And you have to wonder whether there is more to the potential investigation.
This deal will be all-inclusive. It will cover everything. There will be no other investigation.
But not for the guy that he colluded with. That guy,
but that guy's the one. That's the rat. That's who gave him up. That's the rat here.
Well, he's not a rat. He did the right thing. Actually.
Interesting. All right, Avery, Richard, always good to see you. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, take care.
Take care, Fred.
All right, so much more straight ahead in the newsroom, and it also